Good morning and welcome to this beautiful Chan Center. Welcome to our worship service for this CUC meeting this week at UBC. We're going to start the service with some in-gathering singing. So if you'll look inside your order of service, on the first page there are some songs there that we'll start with. One is called Keepers of the Earth, which is quite a recent one. So I'd like you to, a lot of you won't know this, but a lot of you do, so just as you get familiar with it, just join in with us. And we'll remain seated for this, I think. We are blessed by every river, every river makes us whole with its riches and its beauty. Every river feeds our soul, and we are called as keepers of the earth. We are called to speak its sacred worth for our children and our children's children. We are called as keepers of the earth. Every mountain, we are blessed by every mountain. Every mountain makes us whole with its riches and its beauty. Every mountain feeds our soul. And we are called as keepers of the earth. We are called to speak its sacred word for our children and our children's children. We are called as keepers of the earth. Repeat the last line. We are called as keepers of the earth. Lovely, you're in very good voice this morning for so early in the day. Now I'm going to teach you a song that I wrote actually for this conference after reading a lot of books, as I'm sure a lot of you have, on the state of our planet these days. And the word that keeps springing to mind is urgency, urgency. And so I wrote this song called Now is the Time. Now is the time. Now is the time to speak as one. So we're going to sing this a little bit later in the service. So I'm going to teach it to you now. And I hope you'll be on your toes because we have some parts to learn. So the melody goes like this. Now is the time, now is the time, now is the time to speak as one. Try that. Now is the time, now is the time, now is the time to speak as one. And listen. Now is the time to take a stand for the good, for the common good. Now is the time to take a stand for the good, for the common good. Let's do the whole thing. Now is the time, now is the time, now is the time to speak as one. Stay on the beat. Now is the time to take a stand for the good, for the common good. Make sure you stay on the beat when we're doing this because we're adding parts. And the first part is, listen, we've got to do it right now. We've got to do it right now. We've got to do it right now. Try that. We've got to do it right now. 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 Oh, you're quick study. Okay, so I'm going to ask some people on this side, just about where I'm pointing here. I want you to do that part. Okay, the rest of you, just to try it, and the rest of you do the melody. Now is the time, but they have to start. We've got to now. No, wait, I was just trying to show you. So they do it. We've got to, and then you start. All right, ready? This part, you start. Ready? We've got to. Very good. Sure helps when you got backup singers. Okay, so the other part is, ooh, do it right now. Ooh, do it right now. Ooh, do it right now. Do it right now. Try it. Ooh, do it right now. Ooh. Everybody over here to sing the melody, and just kind of a slice of pie here. I want you to do that ooh part. If you don't like the part, sing the other part, but it's easier to do it in sections. Okay, so everybody start with the melody. Now, ooh, ready? Now is the time, now is the time, to see the time. Now is the time to take a step for the good. Good. Excellent. We're going to dive right in. So I want most of you in the middle here to do the melody all the way through. And then I want this slice to do the first harmony and this slice to do the second harmony. But don't come in until I tell you. Everybody is going to start on the melody. Everybody sing the melody. Then I'll bring these in. And if I'm doing this, it means keep going. And if I'm doing this, stop your part at the end of the part. And we end again on the melody. All right? Got it? Okay, so everybody starts on the melody, right? Note again, please. Do, 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 do. Now is the time, now is the time, now is the time to speak as one. Now is the time to take a stand for the good, for the common. You've got to. To take a stand for the good, for the common right now. Now is the time, now is the time, now is the time to speak as one. Now is the time to take a stand for the good, for the common good. Excellent. Now we'll do it more or less like that. It's just you have to watch me because I'm not sure how many times we'll do it, and don't come in until I do that. Okay. All right, so we're going to just end this section with When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, and we will do verse 1 and verse 3. And the choir is going to be adding some harmonies, so just soak it in and enjoy it. are blessed with love and amazing grace when our heart is in a holy place. When we share the silence of sacred space and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. Last line. When our heart is in a holy
Great honor, it is my great honor, and with deep respect, that I introduce you now to Aline Laflamme and the Daughters of the Drum.
Thank you, dear one. Come, dear ones. Well, good morning, all my dear relatives. I loved singing about getting our hearts in a holy place. What a good feeling. And I want you to know that we are here. What we're doing right now, this number of us standing together with our drums, was an illegal act for a long period of time. And some of our ancestors went to jail for doing what we are about to do. And I'm grateful and thankful that today we don't have to worry. We're not going to get arrested, so you could relax. We're okay. We're very grateful to be here on the home of our relatives, just wherever you like now. The Musqueam Nation. We're in their unceded territory, and we're thankful to them that we can live our lives here in peace and happiness. We can conduct our ceremonies, and they welcomed us in a very gracious way, so we acknowledge them. And we would like to sing a song for you. It's called the Four Directions Song. It's a song that everyone is welcome to sing. It comes from my dear late relative Nirkosh, whose paper name was Glenn Douglas. And he gave us this song and said, sing it whenever you can. It's a song to honor all the directions, everything in that direction. We might honor the little beetles or the ants or the bumblebees or the people or the moose or the buffalo or the trees or the flowers, or we honor everything. We're going to face in the east wind and sing twice, the south wind. We'll sing in the four directions. We're going to sing to honor the Mother Earth. We're going to sing to honor everything above. And then we want you to join us, because after we've honored all things in creation, we want to greet and honor one another. And we'll invite you, if it's comfortable for you, to stand at that point and sing with us and greet everyone you can around you. And after we've done that, then we have a special person to sing for at the very end. And as long as I was taught to honor creation, like most of us, I always looked out there for creation, where to honor it. It was many, 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 many years before I recognized that I was also part of creation that deserved to be acknowledged and honored. So the last time we sing, I really want to invite you to join us in that. Join us whenever you want, but on the last time, we're all going to take a moment and sing the best way you know how to honor the great gift of life that you are. We will each sing to honor the gift of life that we are. So, my dear ones, without further ado, This is Face to the East Wind. Away, oh, oh, 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 away, oh, away, oh, away, welcome to join us anytime. We're going to sing for the Mother Earth. Away, oh, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, and all that's above. Now and make eye contact with whoever you can. And why are we here together? We don't know, but we are. So they always told there's no mistakes in the ceremony. We're all meant to be here. So let's greet one another in a good way. Away, oh, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh. Oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, away, away, oh. Looks like we can do it one more time. Let's raise the roof. You ready? Yeah. Oh, away, oh, away. Away, want you to center inside yourself for a moment. I remember the first time I did this, I was kind of surprised that I had never before really sung to honor myself. So maybe some of you are in the same position. So I see somebody's in that same position, yeah. And just sing sweetly. Sing with all the beauty, all the love, all the honor, and all the respect, and all the compassion that you can conjure up for your very own dear self. Okay? Let's sing beautifully to honor the great gift of life that each one of us is. Let's come to one heartbeat here. Away, oh, oh, 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 away, oh, away, oh, away, oh, woo! Okay, Mussy Cho, and I thank my dear daughters of the drum here, each and every one. Mussy, thank you, dear ones. Mussy, 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 Mussy.
Welcome. We meet here, as Eileen has said, on the traditional lands of the Musqueam people. To you, we say thank you for your welcome and your invitation to meet here on your land. Welcome to Eileen and the Daughters of the Drum. Welcome, and so thank you. Thank you for each of you making the journey to be here today. How wonderful that we have each chosen to be here together this morning, held in the body of this beautiful building, sharing our breath, our voices, our spirits, our hearts. I now invite the Reverend Philip Hewitt forward to light our chalice.
It has become a tradition among us as we gather for worship to kindle the flame on our symbol, the flaming chalice. There's ongoing discussion as to where and when this practice began. We have been observing it here in Vancouver since 1979. It's now spread all around the world, inspiring us with the knowledge that fellow Unitarians all around the earth are gathering and observing the same ritual as they gather, using in many cases the words which are likewise gathered from fellow comrades around the world and distributed monthly by the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists, embodying meanings, multitudes of meanings that have been gathered around this as it has progressed. In this world today, in which there are so many refugees, it is good also to remember that this original symbol of the flaming chalice was given us by a refugee as a thank offering to the Unitarian Service Committee, which had rescued him and saved his life. Both the history and the geography of this symbol remind us that we, too, are called to service. Service in so many ways to meet the deeper needs of a stricken world. It has also been known from time to time that there has been difficulty in getting the flame to burn, which can also remind us that when we set out on a course, we need to be persistent. Let the flame burn.
We're now going to sing Now Is the Time. Remember that we are all starting on the melody. And remember to watch where we come in. And we were all ending on the melody. And we have to stay together. Would you stand as you're willing and able? As I said, this is a song about urgency. It's a song about the ecology. It's a song that I hope you will sing in your churches. I hope you will sing it at rallies. I hope you will sing it in the street. That's what it's about. I will give you a very short introduction. Do, 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 do. Now is the time, now is the time, now is the time to speak as one. Now is the time to take a stand for the good, for the common good. We've got to now. Do it right now. We've got to 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 do it right now. Once more. Now is the time, now is the time, now is the time to speak as one. Now is the time to take a stand for the good, for the common good. Last line. For the good, for the common good.
On Friday night, in my closing words at the opening ceremony, I described the participants of the conference as a new community. This morning, we continue to reform as a new community. Youth and elder, conference participants and members of the 4 Lower Mainland congregations, honored guests, friends, those in this room, and those at home and in congregations across the country who are joining us through live stream video. Now is the time to be a new community. Our spiritual ideals speak of an interdependent web of which we are all a part. The web is made of billions of strands of energy, and the intersection where they cross is where we meet, where we encounter each other. I reach out to you, you reach out to those you meet, and in these moments, we influence the whole web. In the moments of our encounters, we create something. That connection, encounter, has a spectrum of possibilities. It can be warm or cold. It can create fear or care, suspicion or respect. Every connection is different, and every connection is our choice. This weekend, we are asking ourselves if we can be bolder in our lives. And what does that mean? I say what it means to me is that in those connections, as we encounter each other, we choose to make a bold choice, a choice that comes from living our principles, a choice that risks trusting others, a choice that shares who we really are, a choice that challenges our comfort for the sake of a deeper living. Why? Because we want to birth a new world, a society, a community that comes from the very best of us. Why? Because as my mentor, the Reverend David Bumbaugh, wrote, we Unitarian and Universalists believe that in this interconnected existence, the well-being of one cannot be separated from the well-being of the whole, that ultimately we all spring from the same source and all journey to the same ultimate destiny. What will be your choice today when you encounter another in the junction of the web? What will you put back into the web? We are separate human beings together in this world, remembering that we are one. And now we have the good fortune of hearing a story and participating in a story by Ray Stothers, who is part of the new emerging congregation, Unitarian congregation, that is situated in Nelson, BC.
Brand new and emerging. I was fortunate enough back in the late 80s, early 90s to meet some Musqueam people, and one elder in particular, Vince Stogan. And a very interesting thing happened. It was the first time in my life that somebody actually asked me to just be myself. It was Vince who welcomed this story and this song to Musqueam territory those many years ago through a person named Malidoma Some. And it comes out of West Africa and the Dagara people. And the thing that Malidoma asked, said, sing this song. And one day, maybe it'll catch on. And people will sing it because it's a water song. It inspires reconciliation. And maybe one day, some young person who's thinking about leaving the village will see people from America, where all things valuable live. Maybe somebody from their village will see people treating our traditions with value. Maybe it will wake up in people in America to treat the traditions of the Indigenous people around the world with value. And he cried, maybe. Once upon a long, long time ago, and a time so long ago that you could not wear it on your wrist, let alone keep it in your pocket on some kind of cellular device that you sometimes bring to your ear. Time did not beep at you in the morning. It certainly was not rude enough to wake you up. In a time that long ago, there was an amazing young hunter. Her name may actually have been Debbie, but maybe that's just the anglicized version of an ancient name from a long ago tribe far away in the north. And she left the village like she did regularly because she was a hunter and she helped provide sustenance for the village. And while she was away hunting, the weather was fierce and the storms came in, as can sometimes happen in this neck of the woods. But the hunt was successful, and she returned to her village to find that a great river had washed the village away. And she approached where the village was. It should have been upstream a ways. And she looked into the river, and all she could see were the hands of people she loved. Even some people she didn't care too much about. And she went to the edge of the bank. She wanted to do something. But because she had grown up in the ways of the traditions, she found her center through a water song, a song that will actually wash away the virus of colonialism, that asks people to be something different than they are, this old song, and she sang it. E la la kulaya, e la la kulaya, e la la kulaya. Now, if you would help us with this, I'd like to bring the river and the village right here. And all of you are in the river. And you have one hand, if it's comfortable to have one hand in the air, hoping that there might be somebody on the bank who cares enough about village that they would reach into the river and pull you out. And the river started looking for people to pull out. And the first person, Debbie, came up and she started singing with the river. E la la kulaya, e la la kulaya, e la la kulaya. And then Debbie reached into the river and she pulled somebody out. And they started singing together. E la la kulaya, e la la kulaya, e la la kulaya. And then each of the two of them, and it was as if the river reached out, and now there was 2 people standing on the bank, and then there were 4 people standing on the bank. And they stood on the edges of the bank singing together, E la la kulaya, E la la kulaya, E la la kulaya. And then it was as if it caught fire and people just started reaching out. After they'd been pulled out of the river, he reached back behind him and pulled somebody else out of the river, and they started singing. Is it comfortable for you to stand? E la la kulaya, E la la kulaya, E la la kulaya, E la la kulaya. You don't have to stand if you don't want to. E la la kulaya, 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 E la la kulaya. And then they started to sing about bringing the parts of themselves that needed to be reached out and brought into the world. E la la kulaya, E la la kulaya, E la la kulaya. I hope through the rest of today and the rest of our lives, you have the courage to reach out when you need help and the courage to reach out to somebody else who needs help. And I hope we always take time to remember that we need reconciliation as much as our First Nations need reconciliation. Thank you so much.
We invite those ministers who are here to please rise as your names are called so that we can acknowledge and thank you for your journey and for your service in furthering the faith and deeds of this, our religious tradition.
We honor the following transitions in ministry. Nicolene Guerrier began interim ministry in Winnipeg Francis Dearman completed interim ministry with North Shore. Helen McFadden began serving Kamloops. Stephen Atkinson completed ministry at North Shore and began a spiritual care chaplaincy program in Hamilton, Ontario. Karen Fraser Gitlitz was called to the Unitarian Congregation of Saskatoon and became consulting minister with the Unitarian Fellowship of Regina.
Samaya Oakley has left Nanaimo and will be starting at South Fraser Unitarian Church. John Marsh resigned from Ottawa first. Carly Gaynor completed a ministry at the First Unitarian Church of Hamilton and then served the Unitarian Church of Calgary as their sabbatical minister. Carol Strecker also began serving as a 2-year interim minister at Kingston Unitarian Fellowship. Wendy Luella Perkins was affirmed as an affiliated community minister with the Kingston Unitarian Fellowship. Reverend Paula Gable will begin interim ministry in Ottawa.
Linda Thompson has completed a contract with the Unitarian Fellowship of London, where Peter Bellotto will begin this summer. Emily and Marcus Hartleaf have been called to serve North Shore. We also offer congratulations to Rosemary Morrison and to Ben Robbins for attaining candidate status.
We offer congratulations to preliminary fellowship to Sean Neil Barron and Rodrigo Emilio Solano Canel, who will be ordained by Neighborhood UU Congregation.
Lynn Harrison was ordained by Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Congregation and is currently serving as a music-based community ministry for The Bridge, connecting song and spirit. Lori Kyle was ordained at Toronto First.
We congratulate and acknowledge those who have attained final fellowship. Deborah Thorne, who serves Beacon Unitarian Church. Linda Gunawardine as community minister serving as an addictions counselor in Ottawa.
3 ministers have retired this year. We honor the Reverend Amanda Aikman, the Reverend Audrey Brooks, and the Reverend Millie Rochester.
And we remember and lament the death of our dear colleague, the Reverend Christine Hillman, in August 2015. At this time, I'd like to invite the congregation to join with us in a response printed in your order of service. Together, we promise that you will not be alone in your ministry. We will walk side by side with you. We will work with you to move our shared dreams forward and to keep the fire of commitment burning bright.
I work as a spiritual health practitioner at Vancouver General Hospital. One of the amazing things that happens to me is that I come into contact with people from many cultures, including First Nations people. Frequently, I get what I call a shakedown cruise, when the patient or family feel the need to share personal or family experience with residential schools or other really difficult pain they have suffered, as their cultures were subject to what really can be called genocide or ethnic cleansing. This is hard stuff, and many of you have explored these issues at this meeting over the weekend. One thing that amazes me is that as a clergy person, I am still generally trusted if I display the willingness to listen and meet folks where they are. Reconciliation Canada works to promote healing among and between Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples in Canada. This is ongoing work which will benefit us in the form of a more caring and diverse society. There is no more important work for us to support. We traditionally also support a local charity. This year it is the Burns Bog Conservation Society. Burns Bog is the largest and last remaining peat bog in the Northern Hemisphere, located right here in the Lower Mainland. It covers about 40 square kilometers and occupies a quarter of Delta, BC. The bog's ecosystem sustains a wide variety of flora and fauna, including 24 species of mammals and 150 bird species. The material I was given about this notes that zoning codes have been enacted to protect the bog from development and retain its original state in the hopes of preservation for future generations. The bog plays a role in our climate, but also bogs and wetlands act as a kind of sponge. Along with global warming, our destruction of wetlands is one reason why we see more flooding happening. I think both of these organizations have one thing in common. While essential for our collective health, spirituality, and physicality, they both are hard to wrap one's mind around without personal involvement. I broadcast a radio show here in Vancouver, and just in the past couple of years, we air an acknowledgement several times a day that our studio on this campus resides on unceded Musqueam land. For real reconciliation, we must do the work of encounter with First Nations folk, not only as equals, but as people who have unresolved issues to reconcile about. Reconciliation Canada helps facilitate this encounter in a mutually respectful way, and the Burns Bog Conservation Society helps preserve the natural balance of our planet, sacred to First Nation folks and essential to our well-being. I can't think of any more appropriate groups to support and reflect our values and principles, so I hope you'll be generous.
as the collection is completed, I thank you for your generosity for our common good. In a moment, after the meditation by Samaya and Nancy, we'll begin a weaving of voices, some speaking, some singing. Months ago, I reached out to my colleagues, Stephen Epperson and Fran Dearman, to help me find young adults in our communities who had unique voices, varied experience, and something to tell us. And when I spoke to these young adults, I asked them to tell us what was bold for them. And each has taken a risk to speak from their hearts, to reveal their experience, and perhaps to challenge us.
Conferences, congregational life, and life in general can be busy, rushing here and there from one appointment to another. Let us take time now to pause from the busyness, the meetings, the worry of details, the worry of life, to find the quiet center within. So let us breathe together, breathing in and breathing out, in and out, with every breath settling deeper and deeper into our bodies. As we breathe together, our breathing becomes one body, one shining new spirit. As we continue to breathe in and out, this shining spirit flows in and out of our bodies, out into this world. Let us breathe this spirit of new life that we create here in this gathered community into our bodies, for those times to draw on when we need to lean into our discomfort. Let this breath hold and sustain us as we enter into the reverent peace of silence.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the song of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
how different we are. Each time I talk with my friends and tell them the church that I went to every Sunday does not have the cross and the Bible, most of their responses were, "Really? Are we going to become a heretic?" I replied, "I'm sure the church that I go to is a church. Its name is Unitarian Church of Vancouver. My name is Eric Chen. I came from mainland China 20 months ago. After a few months searching for a church, my friend introduced the Unitarian Church of Vancouver to me, where I heard a kind of a sermon that I had never heard before. No more reading the Bible, no more waiting for salvation. Everything we do is searching the way to make ourselves better. Every word we say is discussing how to improve the earth where we are living and how to make it more just and a loving place. I feel happy. Yes, this is my true feeling." In a meeting for new Unitarians, the minister of Unitarian Church of Vancouver, Stephen Epson, said to us that this church is a church for the people who dislike church. I knew right then I was going to the right place. Anyone going to church is searching for something that can help them to be a better person or not be such a bad guy any longer. That's why the cross and the Bible is necessary for a lot of people. They need the one truth and only answer guiding direction. They demand a regime controlling behavior. They need to find an easy way to solve problems now and forever. So they believe. But it is hard to please everyone, especially someone like me. I had tried some other churches, and finally I realized that I'm not one of them. I just cannot stop thinking and asking questions. Some churches I tried before UCV made me feel I had jumped from one cage made of a bamboo curtain, only to be chained with spiritual shackles. Obey the Bible or the one truth is probably not dogmatism for many people, but it is for me. I prefer sitting in the sanctuary of UCV, hearing Stephen talking about so many things other than the Bible. At that moment, I know I'm thinking, doubting, and seeking. I'll keep staying there, not only as a free man, but also as a free soul. Thank you.
This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too.
Bolder ways of being together. My name is Lindsay. Thank you for hearing my thoughts. I turned Unitarian 3 years ago. I'm now a lay chaplain, and professionally I've spent the last 9 years in the field of marketing communications and more recently direct sales. I'm going to ask you to put on a pair of glasses this morning and see through my lens as a newcomer who never grew up in a UU church. At 34, I am a young member in my church, and the comment I get told the most is, "We need more young people like you." But my question is, would we know what to do with them if we had them? Yes, we are welcoming communities, but not user-friendly ones. And for that reason, we're going to struggle with retention. I think there's a misconception that if we just get more young adults coming to Sunday service, the rest will take care of itself. But with unchurched millennials, that's a bit like inviting us to join you at the peak of Whistler Mountain, but being told, surprise, you're hiking to meet us at Blackcomb Mountain, actually. The view is great. Hope you make it. If we promise life-fulfilling vistas, let's give young adult newcomers a gondola system to get there. A very obvious, dependable, straightforward, guided passage to be able to appreciate being part of a church community and understand the Unitarian faith. What do I mean by more obvious? I'll give you an example. With our last minister, I didn't go see him for office hours until almost his very last day before he left. Sure, office hours are printed in the bulletin, but I just assumed that time was meant for people to come in and complain about church or talk about flower arrangements. I never actually knew that a minister could help me with personal problems. Having a guided passage means we have someone or something as a tour guide. While we like to be a religion that imposes no set beliefs or set pathway to truth, that doesn't mean we can't provide a pathway to understanding what church or spirituality or faith is all about. When you take someone who is unfamiliar with church communities, who likely can't define what the word theology means, they need an educational continuum that builds understanding, spiritual self-esteem, and confidence to engage. Probably the best place for newcomers to start would be a manual or a program called Unitarian Universalism, What to Expect in Your First Year. And then down the line, something like Building Your Own Theology would make more sense. They would have context. And I'll just add, being part of the lay chaplain team has been like that for me. I got a manual, I did my basic training weekend, but most importantly, I got mentoring for an extended period of time where it felt okay to know nothing. My team said, "It's okay, we'll show you." Creating an opportunity for newcomers to share the same gondola ride is really important. The fact that every Unitarian congregation operates a little differently is great, until you are trying to build a shared movement among a highly connected, distracted, unchurched generation. We need some common programming amongst congregations because millennials have vast networks that defy neighborhood boundaries. I can't invite more than 4 of my 200 Facebook friends to my church. They just don't live nearby. However, I could recommend to over 70 that they take the same program as me if, in fact, that same program were actually available to them, no matter if they were in Regina, Winnipeg, Halifax, wherever, or online even. Put millennials on the same gondola, and I guarantee we will share the experience with others because we don't like to travel alone. So let's imagine some bold possibilities. Could we, as congregations, become more interdependent and intentional in creating a standardized onboarding process for young adult newcomers? In a digital world, let's recognize that trust and enthusiasm are being built or not before someone shows up at church. Do you think it's possible we could have one video, one young adult website with some online courses, so we can help people take baby steps along the trust spectrum and gain confidence and will to deepen their engagement? Do you think there could be a young adult manual, a posh brochure that's available in every church so young adults can see someone is thinking about them? Let's get more intentional about being stewards of our promises we make on our websites. If we promise life-fulfilling vistas, then let's give young adults a gondola system to get there. A very obvious, dependable, straightforward, guided passage to look down and see the lay of the land. Because there's a difference between letting newcomers loose in the wild to wander with confusion or explore with confidence. Thank you.
This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three.
When I went to write this speech, I got a little bit stuck. The truth is that I wasn't really sure I'd actually been bold enough lately to get on a stage and speak about being bolder. But I'm not really afraid to admit my own mistakes, but I am afraid to make more. And that's how I ended up on stage today. The truth is that Unitarians as a collective could do way more when it comes to truth and reconciliation. We've had some failures and successes, but that's not really the point. Looking around this conference, I see people seeking to do more and actually doing the work to get together and collectively try. And we can do more. We can speak and act now, and in fact, we must if we're going to transform violence into peace, love, hope, and friendship. We must live a life of radical love. And we can only get there by being bolder. Whatever you do now for justice, I ask you to think about what you can do to take it one step further. Be bold and be bolder still. We're holding a conference on truth and reconciliation now. What is a bolder step once this weekend is through? Can we imagine Unitarian Universalists as an unstoppable force? Speaking for truth and healing. Our bodies, voices, and spirits standing firmly in the way of oil giants, pipelines, supporting Indigenous sovereignty and Canada-wide blockades like Unistoten, Medili, and Walburn Valley. Building mutually supportive friendships and relationships with Indigenous communities here and afar. Our safety, our hopes, our myriad of dreams are intertwined. Our fate as humans is bound together. To ensure the dream of a beautiful future, we must care deeply, speak wisely, and act boldly and bolder still. There's no better time to start than now.
The theme of our gathering this weekend is bolder ways of being. I like the translation into French. Être et vivre avec plus d'audace. To be and to live more audaciously with more daring. That word, audace, daring, brings a rallying cry of the French Revolution to mind. Il nous faut de l'audace, encore de l'audace, et toujours de l'audace. We have to dare, and to dare again, and always be daring. The audacity, the boldness of which Georges Danton was speaking was to imagine a world without aristocracy and priestcraft, to imagine a world where people governed themselves in a republic. He paid for that vision with his life. Historically, our Unitarian ancestors daringly took on the hegemony, the dominant narrative and system of Christendom by asserting the unity of God, the humanity of Jesus, the signal importance of reason, religious tolerance, and human moral responsibility. It was a bold stance for which our ancestors paid the high price of martyrdom, exile, and marginalization for nearly 300 years. Unitarians and Universalists daringly took on the hegemony of Calvinist Christianity in North America by asserting the essential goodness of human beings and our capacity to achieve the good, because they believed we are all created in the image of a good and loving God. And in so doing, they changed the emotional and religious landscape of North America. Many Unitarians and Universalists daringly took on the hegemony of slave power in Great Britain and the States. Unitarians audaciously worked to save thousands of lives of refugees, Jews and Gentiles alike, during the Second World War. We've boldly stood up for civil and human rights and reproductive and environmental justice. With daring, we took on discriminatory, moth-eaten conventions and ordained women and LGBTQ people to our professional ministry. And here in Canada, we were in the vanguard in our affirmation of same-sex marriage, a stand that was instrumental in helping to change the law across this nation. It's important to remember these people and the daring things they achieved. All of this and more is expressive of a people willing to stake their lives and means to uphold the vision of the worth and dignity of every person. It's expressive of a people whose members believe that nature and everything in it, from the heavens to the earth, is essentially one vast form of mutual connection and mutual dependence. What is it that ultimately sustains the interdependence and unity of all things? We've called it God, mystery, wonder, the arc of the moral universe. We've called it nature itself, that great and fiery force, that still small voice, which moves us, calls us to renewing our spirits and opening ourselves up to that which creates and upholds all life in its fullness, complexity, and grandeur. Bolder ways of being. We've heard how Eric struck off bamboo and spiritual shackles to embrace with us the quickened life of a free soul. Lindsay spoke of how the lack of focus in our own religious culture and media turns off and bars the door to generations stepping toward us. And she challenges us to give youth and young adults clear and compelling reasons to carry our faith forward and equipped with media to make it happen. Danny calls us to be active healers who acknowledge our own complicity in structures of injustice and exhorts us to true reconciliation with each other, with First Nations people, and with the land upon which we all depend for life and flourishing. After a 3-year process of consultation with UUs across Canada, our Canadian Unitarian Council's Vision Task Force presented a vision statement and a set of aspirations approved by representatives for the approval of representatives of our congregation at this year's annual meeting. That process of consultation with us revealed what we said needed to be lifted up and said about us. And that statement, as Canadian Unitarian Universalists, we envision a world in which our interdependence calls us to love and justice. Now, this is what we told our Vision Task Force resonates most powerfully and compellingly to us. This is what matters most to us at this moment in time. This is what we long for. This is how we want to journey together into the future. And I would underline, our Unitarian youth have expressed huge support for this process and for its outcome. And so I repeat, as Canadian Unitarian Universalists, we envision a world in which our interdependence calls us to love and justice. With that vision statement, our task force was inspired by us and our words to add 5 statements of aspiration. That is how we desire and seek to take this statement of vision and embody it in word and deed. So 5 aspirations. Deeply connected, radically inclusive, actively engaged, theologically alive, and spiritually grounded. How and if we go forth and embody these aspirations as individuals, families, partners, parents, co-workers, citizens, Unitarian Universalists in congregations, ministers, I can't begin to say. Though in the next 2 years and more, all of our congregations will have an opportunity to truly explore it. But I can see it in my mind's eye and soul, and wish to God it would come to pass. Now, you may think there's nothing new here in what I've said. This is who we are. This is what we already want. Where's the vision? 2 responses. First, let's say it's the early 1800s, and if I was an abolitionist surrounded by my abolitionist crew, it would be self-evident that every slave should be immediately freed. This is what we all believed and the end to which we were all working already. But here's the thing. Up until the early 1830s in the British Empire and 1860 in the States, hardly anyone else shared our view. It was a daring, bold minority who envisioned the end of slavery, aspired to bring about a new state of being, and at great cost made it so. Second, before I begin a serious journey, I want to know who I am, where I'm starting from, what I believe and value, and who my companions are. I want a compass and a map of the landscape through which I will be traveling. Thus equipped, I would hope that instead of wandering about without direction and purpose, I would reach my destination and be transformed by the strangers I meet, the wonders I have seen, and the road that I have traveled. Now, I began with stories of our daring UU ancestors, remote and near, the road they traveled and the good they achieved. In each case, they were arrayed against oppressive, life and soul-crushing systems of polity, thought, and belief. In the past 40 years, something truly damaging has happened to us. And it's the rise to hegemony, the dominant narrative and thinking of economics, and the monetization of nearly everything. And here I think our Vision Task Force is right. This is what we're up against. The economic metaphor has come to be applied to nearly every aspect of modern life, especially in areas in which it simply doesn't belong. Education, healthcare, housing, information, employees' rights, the environment, the social contract, and culture itself. This model has spread from the world of finance to government, and from there through our whole culture, in which the ideas of value, meaning, and belief are being supplanted by ideas and actions of efficiency, naked competition, and cash value. In such a situation, and if you don't believe me and think I'm out of my mind, ask any young person who has grown up in our post-9/11, 2008 recessionary world, envisioning a world in which our interdependence calls us to active love and justice is not old hat. It's not business as usual. It may be the only thing that will save us. And it's time we say it and embody it in word and deed, not just as one more damn thing we have to do in addition to everything else, not what we have to do, but what we should and could be, growing bolder and more daring every day. I'm out of time, and I just want to leave you with these images to take away. In the occasionally good book, it says that Eric, sometimes I do preach from the Bible. In the occasionally good book, it says that when Abraham saw strangers approaching down the road, he ran from his tent door to meet them and bowed himself down to the earth. Turns out he later daringly argued with them not to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Later, in the same occasionally good book, a father sees his no good son approaching the house while he was still a long way off. This parent, filled with compassion, runs down the road, throws his arms around his adult child, embraces him, and later lays out a feast in celebration. Much later, and in a culture to the south of where those stories took place, Muhammad runs in distress, the Prophet Muhammad runs in distress towards his home. He believes he's going mad because he's hearing voices. His wife, Khadija, runs out into the streets to meet her distraught spouse, who she knows is in the midst of an existential spiritual crisis. And she wraps Muhammad in her cloak and assures him that all will be well. Active love and justice rises from a vision of interdependence and mutual connection, like the day follows the night and one season follows another. May we be an aspirational people, inspired by a vision. May we run from our tents, our houses, and go out into the streets to meet and embrace the stranger, the future, and with faith and compassion, wrap the cloak of Khadija around those we love, and from there embrace and transform our one and precious world. May it be so. You may be seated. In benediction, a blessing. And now may we have faith in life to do wise planting that the generations to come may reap more abundantly than we. May we be bold in bringing to fruition the vision of kinship, active love, and justice we so long for. This we ask, that the fields of promise may become fields of reality. May it be so. Amen.
We're all standing now, swaying, dancing on the forming edge of this new vision. Some of us stand alone, some in families, others in groups related by age or common understandings or cultural roots. Some of us have risked leaving the familiar, the comfortable environment, the cocoon of habit, or the house of addiction. Some of us are learning to listen deeply. Some of us are learning to live with vulnerability. Some of us are learning to speak with strength. Some of us have the opportunity to reach out and take the hand of someone else who is ready to move on. Some of us are reaching out, ready to move on, hoping someone will take our hand. In truth, we are both the hand reaching and the hand reached for. What a gift this is. We have so much love to give. Will you please join me in reading together the reading in your order of service by the Reverend Joe Cherry, who interned here in Vancouver a few years back. It's called A Prayer for Living Intention. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, with people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. May it be so.
We will close with the fire of commitment, and we will do verses 1 and 3. Would you stand as you're willing and able?
Free
we extinguish this flame and ask that you take it with you and live into this vision that we have created.